Memphis and W253DF Memphis. Flynn Broadcasting Stations. It's time for Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM. Presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here is your host, the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
As I was walking down the street one day.
Yes, it happened. The Grizz. They finally won a game at home. Hallelujah. Thank you. Derrick Rose, Marcus Smart. We'll get into that in just a second. The Tigers football team has 9 guys that made all conference. How about that? Some respect finally for this team that won 9 games. I'm so happy for those guys in particular. The 2 first teamers, we'll tell you who they are in a second. College basketball was crazy last night. Duke and Arkansas set a record of attendance at Bud Walton, which is really and truly one of the great places to watch a college basketball game. 20,000 plus. And Arkansas was a winner. Now, that makes Memphis look even better. It was crazy last night. Villanova loses to St. Joseph's. I'm telling you, folks, this is going to be an unbelievably crazy year. And today is a major day. Zach Boyd, you know who's back today?
Who's back today?
Come on. Zach! One of the most famous, if not the most famous athletes on this planet is back in action today.
Oh, Tiger Woods.
Yes! Tiger's back today. He's pain free. Look, I'm so excited about this. I'm serious. Wait a second. So Tiger spoke to the media, first time in forever. No pain. No pain whatsoever. Asked if he can win. You know what his answer was? Absolutely. Oh, I hope he gets one more win is 83. That breaks Sam Snead's record for the most victories on the PGA Tour. I really hope he's going to get it. The guy says he's not in any pain. He says he's rusty. He's playing in this one. He's playing at Riviera, where he's never won. I think maybe it would be incredible justice if he won there. He was asked a little bit about Ryder Cup captaincy for not this year, but the next, because that's when the next Ryder Cup would be. He goes, I'm too busy to think about that right now because they're reshaping the tour, and there is a big meeting this month, or I should say, this is the last day of November. Next month, I can't remember the date, but it's in December, where not only will the deal with the Saudi fund be cemented as an investment group in the PGA Tour, but there's another entity, and I think it may be the folks that are involved with the Boston Red Sox, that whole big sports conglomerate. They own a Premier League soccer team. They're involved in many, many ownership aspects in sports. This group may be investing in that as well, and maybe as much as the Saudis are. So there's going to be a lot of money on the PGA Tour, and as a board member now, Tiger Woods is involved in that reshaping. So that's going to take more shape when the deals all come into play, and that's going to be in the next month. But in the meantime, he's amazing, Tiger. You realize they have this fund that they give to 20 guys. It's I'm trying to remember the total amount of money, but maybe it's $100 million that they divvy out. I think that's what it is. And they divvy it out to the people, and it's pretty subjective the way they do it, which I think PO'd some players. But they do it to those that have the most hits or are portrayed the most in the media of all the golfers, like social media clicks or endorsements that you get, that sort of thing. And Tiger Woods actually got $10 million from that fund. It's a performance fund of some sort. I can't remember the acronym. But Rory got the most, 15, and then Tiger got 10, so that's 25 of the 100, which the guy didn't play. How does he get that much money? But here's the most amazing thing to me. So he didn't play last year. Really hasn't played since much at all since he won at Augusta out of nowhere for his 15th major. What was that, 2-3 years ago? Tiger Woods is the second leading endorser of sports athletes and celebrities. The second leading behind only, who is it, Zach?
LeBron.
Yes, sir. Right on the money. But LeBron's still playing.
Yeah.
He hasn't stopped playing. He's 38. When did he start playing? So he's been playing 20 years. He started at 18. He's continuous. Tiger Woods hasn't really played much in the last 10 years, but yet he's the number 2 endorser. Anyway, I'm so glad he's back. I think he tees off right around, I think it's around 11 o'clock today, Memphis time. I think it's 11:52 Eastern. But we will be keeping our eyes on that. So we got a busy show today. Here in about 5 minutes or less, Jarvis Greer will join us. He's going to take the slot Pete Pranica takes. They're swapping. Pranica's going to join us at 10:45. We talk NFL and Tigers with Russell Copeland. That'll come your way at the bottom of the hour. So the Grizz win really started with Tuesday's practice, which was a player-led practice. It really might have started with Derrick Rose's comments about communicating on defense and Marcus Smart's basic disrespect of the game themed comments yelling at the team during the loss to Minnesota. So you couple those two veterans with their harsh remarks, it prompted a player-led practice, which some people said was the hardest practice they've had in years. And that also led to Derrick Rose starting along with David Roddy, and they both had great games last night. I thought Derrick Rose, beyond his words at the press conference, I thought he was really the heart and soul last night. Every time they needed to steady the ship, they'd bring him back in. They brought him in the fourth quarter, and Brevin Knight made the remark like, he looked at me stating like I shouldn't be coming back in. But he's coming back in because they wanted to make sure they got this first home win. They were outstanding. Rose, 14 points, 4 rebounds, 9 assists. Critical. David Roddy, 19 and 6. And those were the 2 new starters for Gilliard and for Santi Aldama. By the way, loose balls, 50-50 balls, hustle plays. Grizz finally won that category. First time. Communication on defense was a major problem. Not last night. They limited the Jazz to 37.8% field goal. They, for the first time in forever, led points in the point paint with 58, 23 in transition, which is supposed to be something they're really good at. They had a season-high 55 rebounds. Triple J had 6 blocks to go with 20 points. Bain had 7 and 9 assists. Even Zaire Williams looked good last night, getting an alley-oop. He had 15 and 8. Thank goodness that the Grizzlies finally had the streamers come down. Everybody wondered if that thing still worked up there, when they win, the streamers come down. And yes, it actually did. All right, real quick before Jarvo joins us, Blake Watson, Chandler Martin. Both made first-team All-AAC, both deserving. Of course, Watson had over 1,000 yards. Martin was clearly the best defensive player, led the team in tackles, in solo tackles, in heart and in soul. And here's the interesting thing about them. Both transfers. One from ODU, not exactly a football factory. One from East Tennessee State. Holy moly. You never know what you're going to get from the transfer portal. Seth Hennigan, Rock Taylor, Xavier Hill, who transferred from LSU and is versatile. He's an offensive lineman. Jalen Allen, who stuck around for a fifth year, thank goodness. Defensive lineman, they made second team. Jacob Likes, the great center from Christian Brothers High School. He was third team, so was Simeon Blair, the transfer from Arkansas. And then Canton Arku was honorable mention. He's another of the linebackers. So that was really terrific. And now it comes down to, and we probably won't learn until Sunday, I was grilling Harold Grader when I came in here. He wouldn't let me know. Says he won't know until Sunday. Will the Tigers end up in Memphis, in Boston, or in Indianapolis? I wonder what Jarvis thinks about that. We'll get to that real quick. One last thing. This is Matt Rule, the former Temple coach who's now at Nebraska. Matt Rule was asked about quarterbacks, and he goes, yeah, we're going to go into the portal, but just so we're on the same page, the cost to get a quarterback in a portal at the Power 5 level now, it appears, is $1 to $2 million. $1 to $2 million for a quarterback. He said there are several teams in the NCAA now that have 6 to 7 players that earn $1 million or more. My goodness, the game has changed. As I sit in the Family Leisure studio, they're talking about bucks too. Saving you bucks with the overstock sale, and there's like the remnants of a Black Friday sale. They got so many things going on, and you can get play gyms, and you can get patio sets, and you can get in-stock hot tubs and swim spas at really, really excellent prices. So go check it out. Get to I-40 and Wynn Road. See what I'm talking about, and don't forget, our title sponsor for this hour of the program has been for years. We're so grateful to Genesis of Olive Branch. It's in the Homer Skelton building right there at Craft Road, and Highway 78, which is Lamar. It's the first exit in Mississippi. It's close by. They fix those roads. You get there like in no time. And once you're there, you'll love what you see. The folks that are selling have been there forever. Sale retention of customers is amazing. And the experience is just outstanding, plus the incentives. Go see Vinny. Vinny Gerard is over the Genesis of Olive Branch luxury cars. Those Genesis cars are the best toys going. All the new technology, and they got a deal now on the SUVs. The GV70, the smaller one, the GV80. Special price, special financing. Ask Vinny at Genesis of Olive Branch. Downtown, we head to our friend Jarvis Greer. Jarvo, just off the top of my head, where would you rather spend either the 27th, 28th, or 29th if this turns out to be the way it is? Would you want to stay home and be a part of all the festivities, which never get enough credit, at the AutoZone Liberty Bowl? Would you rather go to Fenway Park and play in that bowl in Boston? Think of that, a tradition and history of Fenway. Might feel like Ted Williams. Or Annapolis, where the Naval Academy is, where the Military Bowl is. Those three seem to be the most likely landing spots for your Tigers. Where do you want to go?
Well, I mean, if it were up to me, I think I'd rather freeze at home. I'd rather go to Liberty Bowl.
You're going to be cold either way.
I'm going to be cold. I'm going to be cold. I want to stay here. It's the bowl up at Fenway Park in Boston. Great facility, history, but that's baseball. It has nothing to do with football. I've watched the last couple of games they had, and I think, Memphis was slated to go to that bowl, but ended up because of, I think COVID, they ended up going to Montgomery. Montgomery, is that right? Am I right with that?
Yeah.
And, but I've watched the two that they played, and it's like, other than, a small smattering of fans from each school, nobody else goes. It's just been empty, and it's, Boston is cold this time of year. Annapolis, we've been there. It's great, great place to go, all the history and everything. And I think, the players would get a trip to D.C., a tour of D.C., and, which would be okay, and it's also a Power 5 opponent, which is also good. But if I'm going to be cold, I think I'd rather stay here.
Well,
that's just me.
And I'm going to reiterate this because I think it's important. First off, it's just not the truth when they say there's a pool of 6 that all pay the same amount of money. Last year was $3.2 million to the SEC. Mm-hmm. 3 times now they've said we don't have enough teams. Oh, guess what? Memphis, you're not going to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really not a pool of 6 anymore. It's a pool of 5. They ought to just say that, or this time around they ought to go, you know what? They're paying us $3.2 million. They're good partners. They deserve, somebody else needs to be out of this thing. They deserve to be in the rotation. And frankly, I would love, you're spending in the stadium 4 hours.
Correct.
What about all the other incredible things the Liberty Bowl, the AutoZone Liberty Bowl does? Seriously. Nobody does the gala. Nobody does the luncheon. I mean, they do with the New Year's Day bowls, the Cotton Bowl. But there's a parade.
Cotton Bowl's like no other.
Right.
Cotton Bowl's better than the playoff.
I'm
As
just.
a matter of fact, they had to tell them to cut back on their stuff when they had the playoff one year.
Right.
Now, Cotton Bowl's like no other bowl.
I agree. But I'm just saying to you, you think Charlotte does what Memphis does, and they're in the same
No.
league? Does the Music City Bowl do as many things as the AutoZone Liberty Bowl does? I don't think so. I don't think they have a rodeo and a parade to go along with the gala, the luncheon, and everything else. Plus which, the SEC is the privileged ones that get to stay downtown at the Peabody.
Correct.
And so they get the better end of the whole deal, and yet they're willing to shaft Memphis every time. It's just amazing to me. And I'm not saying you end that, but I'm saying to Greg Sankey, either tell it like it is and say it's the stadium, or you don't like Memphis, for all that matter. Or it's time to, if there's a shortage, some other team in that pool should get the short end of the stick.
Well, you pretty much guarantee yourself close to, if not a sellout, if you invite Memphis on a good year. 9-3 Memphis. It looks like it could be Iowa State on the Big 12 end, and we know that they ran out of beer at the stadium.
Well, that'd be a replay of 6 years ago, which was a heck of a game, 21-20.
Yes, and those people, they traveled. They loved their team, and they came down here and had a great time on Beale Street, downtown, all over the place. And I said they drank the stadium out of beer. So, that they'll do pretty good. The hotels will do pretty good on that end when it comes to that. But, no, like I said, if I got to be cold, and plus for the players, the swag is really, really good at the Liberty Bowl. I think it's better than those other two bowls. So, swag and money, because they get travel money that they get to keep.
Yeah.
Whatever travel money that the other team was going to get, they get. And so since they're not, since they already live here pretty much, unless they go home and come back, they get to keep that money.
No, this comes down to Greg Sankey. It's the commissioner's choice. He makes the call, and it is $3.2 million. You would think
that's big for the school.
He would try to honor all partners, but that has not been the case, and it makes you scratch your head. All right, what do you think, Blake Watson, Chandler Martin? First team, 9 Tigers honored in this 9-win season by the American.
I think they were like the third most out of the league in terms of guys all up and down the all conference players.
Yeah,
and that's a great accomplishment for the school. Like Blake Watson, we expected him to be good. We didn't know he'd be this good, 1,000-yard good.
Right.
And Chandler Martin came out of the blue.
Nobody expected that. Come on, the guy played at East Tennessee State. Not to diss the program in Johnson City, because I think they've had decent teams at their level, but no one thought he would, by far and away, be the best defensive player the Tigers have.
Well, he is like the classic overachiever. He's like 6'1", about 230, but he's playing a linebacker spot that takes a lot of hits. He's more the size of a strong safety than a linebacker, an inside linebacker, and he is just. I think that's why he got overlooked. But there's no doubt about the size of his heart, because he gives it all every time he's out there, and he makes plays. He's been a playmaker from it. He had an interception, a diving interception in that last game against Temple on the road. Finally got a win in Philadelphia. Love that stadium, by the way. The Lynx, best place we go. Got a pick six against Charlotte.
I thought you told me you thought Charlotte was the best place.
Charlotte is where he got his pick six. No, Charlotte is a lot like Tulane Stadium without the second deck. It's nice. It's a nice little stadium. I'll give them that. And they're going to expand it for. They're already starting, I think, since the season's over. But I think they're spending like $27 million.
Let's be honest. At this moment, it is an exaggerated high school stadium.
Pretty much.
And we go from that stadium to the Link, which is I particularly like it better than I like AT&T Stadium, which is, of course,
do you really?
Is considered the best. Well,
like I
haven't been to the one in LA, SoFi, but.
No.
Well, part of it is our vantage point. I mean, we have a great situation with the booth at the Link, and in Dallas. Come on, you're in a corner of the end zone. It's hard to do a game from there.
Yeah, but man, they sure do treat you right, and it is opulent. I will say that.
Oh yeah,
the booth. I think the square footage on the booth at AT&T Jerry's World is almost big as my house. Lord God.
Well, then you walk in and you see the play-by-play guy's picture all over the place. Brad Chan, my old boss.
Oh yeah,
that was. I'm glad they took care of him. That was like a shrine. But But anyway, we digress. Seth and Rock, second teamers, and they're apparently both going to be back, which bodes well for Ryan Silverfield.
Yeah, and with the emphasis on apparently, because you never know, we thought that with Caden Prescorn, the Tigers' great tight end that ended up getting a big payday to go to Ole Miss, and, good for him. But hopefully, they say they're locked in. They make a great duo, and it's kind of hard you don't want to mess that up, especially with Seth going into his senior year. He's already on the radar. It's not like he's got to go to someplace else and get on the radar of the NFL. He's on the radar. And Rock is improving every year. If he improves next year like he did this year, then heck, he could be talked about on some All-American roles because he's got the size, he's got the speed. Looks like now he's starting to get the hands. His route running is better. And, he's a big target out there for somebody, in the Shield that might want to take a look this way. So congratulations definitely to those two.
And then the kid from Olive Branch, Xavier Hill, I'm happy for him. Most people
he was
thought
the Swiss
this
Army
year
knife.
that Michaelan Pounders would be the talk, the left tackle that's a sophomore. But it's Hill, who I believe can come back, transferred from LSU, was great player at Olive Branch. And I think he's going to be a mainstay next year too.
Yeah, and he was the Swiss Army knife for the Tigers on the offensive line. You know, if somebody's hurt, somebody goes down, hey, let's call up Xavier Hill. He'll go plug into that spot, plug and play, and he won't miss a beat. So he's guaranteed to have a position on the Tigers' offensive line. And Michaelan Pounders announced he's coming back, so that's really good.
That is major.
Because he did a good job protecting Seth. Seth, I think the Tigers gave up very few sacks this year, and what you want, Seth is not a scat back. He's mobile enough, but he pretty much had a clean jersey most every game. So the O-line did a good job. I got to give a shout out to Jacob Likes, my former Christian Brothers High School alum buddy, and he did a great job and very solid at the center spot.
All right, real quick in about 30 seconds because we'll have Pete Prenica on in a bit. More joy or relief from last night's win?
I don't know if you could say which one is more. It was like we're all waiting for the streamers to fall, and it's like they come and push the button, let them go. But they have to wait until the officials signal that the game is over before they do that. That's why there's a little bit of delay. And everybody was thinking there'd be dust on them coming out of there. Maybe you go up there where the button is, and there's a skeleton up there with his finger on the button, never got to touch it because they hadn't won a game at home all year. But they finally get the victory at a home win at FedEx Forum after leading the league in most home victories last year. They start out the season 0-8 inside the Grindhouse, and that had never been done. But, they got the win, and everybody's saying Marcus Smart for Coach of the Year because he blasted them out, after the last home game, and they came back with a performance that they needed to have. If you can't out-talent the other team, which the Grizzlies can't do in their present state, you can out-hustle them. And they brought hustle to
that's exactly what it was. And Derrick Rose, don't forget, he started with that press conference by saying they got to communicate, and he was brilliant. That was the best game he's had
17 points
in a Memphis uniform since 2008.
Yeah, it was a clean game. I think he only had one turnover. Ran the floor smartly. Got to a couple of loose balls by out hustling. You got to lead by example. You just can't talk the talk. You got to walk the walk, and he did that last night, setting up his teammates, getting to the hole, which was vintage Derrick Rose. He's not an outside shooter. He's much more driving, and he did his job last night. Don't forget Tripp with 20 points, 6 blocks. I had my Black Panther socks on last night. 6 rebounds. So he did. Everybody did what you hoped that they could do. And they got a win.
Glad they did. That is for sure. Jarvo, thank you. We'll talk to you next week, and by then we'll know.
Oh, Dave, you never did say
going.
what your preference is. What's your preference? What's your preference on where you want to go?
I probably would like to stay home. The school makes more money out of the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. I guess my next choice would be Fenway. I would love to do a game in Fenway Park. That would be kind of cool. Thank you, Jarvo. Okay. We appreciate it.
All right, Dave. Have a good one.
That's Jarvis Greer. Always helping us out. He is brought to you in part by Conway. Conway Services, reputable services available 7 days a week. All you got to do is call 384-3511 if you've got a plumbing, a cooling, a heating, an electric problem. Conway to the rescue, 384-3511. And this portion of the show brought to you by Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. Ken knows you've made a commitment, and it's big financial, whether you're building that dream home, whether you're acquiring land for that dream home. Maybe you got it, you don't know how to utilize it. Ken does know how. Or maybe you're on this great lot. You don't want to give up your home, but you want modern amenities. It's renovation. I call it renovation with innovation. He takes all the newest things, the modern amenities, from the media room to the island in the kitchen to the California closets. He puts those in. Again, I call that renovation with innovation, and he will work closely with you on all of it. And whether it's that dream holder home or the renovation, you can expect quality construction on time, on budget. 2 generations, that's what they've been doing at Ken Garland Custom Home Builders. We pause for a second, and then Russell Copeland on the National Football League. We'll get his take on the Tigers in the bowl game, too. He comes your way momentarily.
Broadcasting from the Family Leisure Studio, we are Sports 56 and 98.5 FM.
Guns, guns, and more guns. Over 700 firearms in stock. Home defense guns, old guns, new guns, used guns, big guns, little guns. Every gun you can think of, Classic Arms has them. All brands like Glock, Sig, Colt, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Browning, Beretta, Benelli, Remington, Winchester, and more. Guaranteed lowest prices in town. Only gun importer in the Mid-South. Free gun inspections and appraisals and free bore sighting for the upcoming deer season. Shop online at ClassicArmsOfMemphis.com or visit Classic Arms at 1740 Germantown Parkway behind Corky's Barbecue in Cordova.
A good friend of mine told me about this awesome place for lunch.
Oh, yeah? What's the name?
Neil's Grill and Bar, where the fat man rocks. Everybody knows Neil.
Where's it located?
It's located in Yorkshire Square off of Quince.
And what's it like?
The best lunch place in Memphis. You know, like real mashed potatoes and gravy. Everything is made from scratch. Monday through Friday, daily lunch specials like Monday, baked chicken, Italian Tuesday, spaghetti, ravioli, Italian spinach, delicious fried catfish, fried chicken livers every Wednesday, Friday, Salisbury steak, barbecue chicken, or if you just want a vegetable plate, the best veggies in town.
What about the lunch price?
Meat and 2 veggies, $8.95. Meat and 3 veggies, $10.95. And veggie plate, $9.95. Big fat boy portions, man.
Man, you're making me hungry.
Come hear the best live local music at Neil's. Eddie Smith plays Sundays 5 to 9, Mondays karaoke, Tuesdays Debbie Jameson, Wednesdays Elmo and the Shades, Thursdays John Williams and the A440 Band at Neil's.
Where the fat man rocks.
Prepare for the colder temperatures on the way and make sure your HVAC continues to operate at peak efficiency by scheduling a $69 heating system tune-up now with the pros at Conway Services. A heating system tune-up can save you money and help prevent costly breakdowns. Visit conwayservices.com for details, terms, and conditions. License number 64210, 64365 EAS, MS 19668.
Call 384-3511. Conway Services. Call Conway today.
Now, back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
Welcome back in. You know, it was one of those crazy NFL weekends again. There's always something that may be going on. Last week we had the firing of Reich. The week before we had all those walk-off field goals. Sometimes stories have great endings, sometimes not so good, like Joshua Dobbs this past week. But to chronicle all of that, we always bring in our NFL guy, former Tiger, former Buffalo Bill, and more. That would be Russell Copeland. Happy post-Thanksgiving. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Dave. How are you?
I can't complain. That is for sure. Before we get in the NFL, I was just asked by Jarvo. I asked Jarvo the same thing. You care which bowl these Tigers go in? It looks like it's down to 3. Most people think it will be the AutoZone Liberty Bowl. If that is not the case, if indeed somehow Greg Sankey decided to grant that last team in the SEC to Memphis and shut out a different place like Charlotte or Nashville out of the SEC rotation. Memphis might end up in Fenway. They might end up in Annapolis. Do you care which?
Well, Dave, I really don't. I think it's really great that the Tigers are going, bowling again. I think Fenway would really be a good experience, but I mean, you can't beat home cooking for the players. All of your fans hopefully can come and enjoy the week and watch their Tigers play at home. But for me, it really doesn't matter for me.
All right. Where do you think the players want to go?
Well, I think home cooking is always great, but like I said, I think Fenway is a special, unique place. I think that really would be a good experience for them. But ultimately, I think the players just want to be able to play with some good competition and get to the 10th victory. All
right, two games that are of interest to me in the NFL this week. There's more than two, but two that stand out. One is tonight, actually, Seattle and Dallas. So that's the second time this season that Al Michaels actually gets a good game to call. And then on Sunday, Philly, the best team in the NFC record-wise and luck-wise and everything else-wise against San Francisco that hit a wall and then got over that wall because they've been playing really, really good the last 2 weeks. Those are two great games.
Absolutely. Starting with the Dallas Cowboys, I think they've been playing outstanding football. I think Dak Prescott is playing his best football since 2016, which has thrown his name into the MVP. But when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, I think they're just a better team. Offensively, they're right in the top five. Defensively, they get turnovers. They cause a lot of havoc for the quarterback. And Seattle really cannot rush the football. Geno Smith is not having the type of year that he had last year simply because they're 27th in rushing the football. Dallas Cowboys, the number for them is 24. When they score 24 points, they're 7-0. When they give up 24 points, they're 0-3. But I like the Dallas Cowboys in this game. I like the combination of CeeDee Lamb. Michael Parsons is playing outstanding as usual. The Cowboys, I think they win this one.
And they average more than 24 at home, too. I mean, that's... You take into account that home field advantage at AT&T this year, yes. It's been sizable.
Yes, they're 17-0, looking for their 18th straight win, playing at home. It's just really hard to beat the Cowboys at home. But the Cowboys haven't, beaten a winning team. The Seattle Seahawks are 6-5. So I think they get their first victory with a team that's over 500. But this is really a solid, good Dallas football team.
At this moment, the Seahawks at 6-5 are in the playoffs as a wild card. You got Dallas at 8-3, and they're going to make it for sure, one way or another. Seahawks are 6-5. Vikings are 6-6. The Packers are 5-6. So are the LA Rams. So are the New Orleans Saints. Of course, that division's crazy because the Atlanta Falcons lead that division at 5-6. So one of those two are going to get in. But you think the Seahawks make the playoffs?
I do. I do think they make the playoffs. I think they'll be one of the last teams that come in. This is a very important win for them, but I do think they're going to be able to battle. I love Pete Carroll. I'll say yes, they make the playoffs.
The Vikings, as we mentioned, 6-6 now, and they had this great story going with Joshua Dobbs. 7th team, comes in. He's an aerospace engineer. He's brilliant. He can memorize a NFL playbook in like 2 days. It's incredible. And he has this great start with them. And then it all came crashing down Monday night with the Bears, which the Bears defense is improving quite a bit. But 4 picks he threw in that game. And now I think the Vikings are going to back off on him. Joshua Dobbs' story was really good for a minute, but that's come to an end, I'm afraid.
Well, to be honest, I think Joshua Dobbs has been put in a very uncompromising position. I mean, going with his third team, being traded from the Browns to the Cardinals, now to the Vikings. He hasn't even been with the Vikings for an entire year. Hasn't been in OTAs, hasn't been in training camp, really doesn't know the playbook. And coming into last week's game, 5 touchdowns and 1 interception. It was just a matter of time before defensive coordinators can put him in situations where he's not comfortable in. I think he's a really good, solid quarterback, but we really don't know what we have from Joshua Dobbs in a 16, 17-game season. I think that he's a solid quarterback, but it was just a matter of time. He does not have a ram and an understanding of the entire playbook and his playmakers.
You know, it's interesting. I heard a theory that is a little bit opposite of what you just said. The take was this, that when Dobbs first got there, they looked at everything he's been able to do, and they go, we're going to put him into a position where we're going to select packages of plays that we know he can excel in. And then he did well with those. And then he got more and more familiar with the Vikings playbook and the personnel, and they kept expanding that particular package or packages. And the more that he took in, they found out the skill level wasn't quite good enough to do all the things that, say, Kirk Cousins could do. And and so that trying to do stuff you really couldn't do that well hurt him.
Well, I'm not going to say it's things that he can't do. He's in an uncompromised position. You're comparing him to Kirk Cousins, who's been with the Vikings for several years, and now you're trying to compare someone who's only been in your system for 3 weeks, and you're throwing everything at him and say, how well did he do these things? You need to have him in training camp, have him in OTAs, and then you can be able to put an entire playbook around him, not just be able to select certain things and try to add more things as the year goes. Very uncompromising position for him.
We've had a couple of firings in the NFL up until last week that were coordinators. Buffalo was one of those. Then Frank Reich, who, of course, had been at Indy, got the job at Charlotte, didn't get a whole year. 1-10, and they said, enough. No mas. Your take on Frank Reich's firing, is this one of those instances where you can't fire the owner who insisted on taking Bryce Young?
Absolutely. When you look at under the ownership, the Panthers have had 6 head coaches since 2018, and Frank Reich has really admitted that he probably would not, if it was his choice, he would not have picked the quarterback that he picked. He would not have had Bryce Young. I think it's a difficult situation for me. I thought Steve Wilkes probably should have gotten a nod after last year, taking a team that was 1-4, finished 6-6. It's really not going to work out well for your head coach, who's an offensive coordinator, and he doesn't like the quarterback that's at hand. And you put everything that's around him, don't have a really good offensive line, don't have any weapons, rebuilding on offense. So he was in a situation that wasn't really good. Frank Reich's a great guy, I think he's a great coach, but he was in an uphill battle, not liking the quarterback that was chosen that high.
I love San Francisco. I think everybody knows that. They're 8-3. They're the second best team in the NFC, along with Detroit behind the Philadelphia Eagles. Now, I got this crazy theory. I think throughout the season, you're going to get lucky in some games, and then you're going to get on the breaks. Come back and forth. Sometimes you get them all in 1 year, like Minnesota did last year. And look, their record now in one-score games like 0-5. So they've gone the opposite way of the year before. But the Philadelphia Eagles in the last 4 games have come from behind in each game. And at least in the last 2 weeks, the opposition team, good teams, have just said, we don't want to win. Here, take the victory. And I think that's going to catch up with Philly. Getting all the breaks early, something tells me they're not going to end up in the Super Bowl game because they're going to get some bad breaks that they are probably due here in the long run. Tell me, between, let's just say 4 teams, okay? The Eagles, the Niners, the Lions, and I got to throw the Cowboys in there. Of those 4 teams, who's going to be in the Super Bowl representing the NFC?
Early in the year, I said it. I got the Eagles representing the NFC, and I have the Baltimore Ravens representing the AFC. And everything that you said, I agree. And I'm picking the Eagles to go to the Super Bowl, but I'm not going to pick them against the Niners this weekend. I think they're 10-1. I think it's time for them to lose some games, maybe to get some things together, to get going really well, heading into the playoffs, just like you look at the Niners. 4 weeks ago, we thought the Niners were not the team. They hit a bump in the road. They lost 3 straight. Now they're playing good football. I just look at how the Eagles have won. You talked about it, 5-0 when trailing at halftime, 5 straight wins when trailing by 10 or more points. This is a very resilient, battle-tested team, and I think they have the embodiment of their quarterback, who is my leading MVP candidate.
Yeah.
And Hurts. They're cool, they're calm, they're collected, they know how to win. But when you talk about the X's and O's coming into this football game, I think the game has to be won if the Eagles are going to win it, I don't think. But Graham and Jordan and Big Carter, Hassan Reddick, they've got to really put pressure because their secondary isn't that good. They're 16th in passing. I just think in this game here, this is a game that's been circled. It's a rematch of the NFC Championship game last year. I think they'll be ready to play. I think they'll put a lot of different positions and be able to throw the football down the field. That'll be the difference in this first matchup. If they play later on, in the playoffs, the Eagles will be able to make those adjustments, and I think they'll win. But this weekend, give me the Niners, Dave.
It's interesting. I'm shocked because it's in Philly, and yet you're saying that, and so is Vegas. Vegas has made the Niners in the last line I've seen 3-point favorites in that game, and that's like a 6-point favorite because Philly is at least a 3-point place to play. It's a great place, great home field advantage. So I'm a little shocked at the line, and you're going with it.
Yeah, but the reason, Dave, is when you look at it, I think when you're 7-1 in really close games, you just talked about it. You said at some point in time it catches up with you. I think them getting off to a slow start and going against a hot San Francisco 49ers team is the reason that I'm going to pick the Niners on the road. But I think as the season progresses and the playoffs comes around, I think the Eagles will be able to amend for this type of loss.
Listen to this man. He knows. That's Russell Copeland. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. We'll talk next week.
Thank you, Dave.
You got it. That's Russell Copeland. He's brought to you by the Eflin Insurance Team. Both those guys love their Tigers. Matt Eflin likes the Tigers so much that he actually says in his number, the Tiger name. Well, it's not the name. It's GRR. 901-386-GRRR, which is 4777. 901-386-GRR. If you want to get protected with a guy that not only loves the Tigers, but loves what he's doing and has a different way of protecting you when it comes to insurance. He gets to know you. He sits down. He collaborates with you. He'll get to know your family. He'll get to know what your needs are. He'll get to know what your budget is. And then he picks out the perfect protection for your home, your auto, or even life insurance. He's really good with life insurance. Same thing with small to mid-sized businesses. He'll get to know you. He'll get to know your product. He'll get to know your employees, forecast your business out a little bit. How much are you going to grow? What's your budget? And then he protects you with the perfect commercial insurance. Again, that number for Eflin, 901-386-GRR. Back in a minute. Pete Pranica, TV voice of the Grizzlies, on the home W last night. He comes your way in a second.
Be sure to follow us at Sports56 WHBQ on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube to watch live video of our shows, stay up to date with station events, and have chances to win prizes. Don't miss out on anything that's going on. Follow us at Sports56 WHBQ.
Memphis, home of the Blues, World Championship Barbecue, and award-winning craft beers. Now you can discover these great libations on a craft beer adventure with City Brew Tours Memphis. City Brew Tours Memphis is your ticket to behind-the-scenes access at local breweries. See how craft beer is made, discover the different styles of beer, and learn the history of beer and how Memphis brewers are making such great beer. Best of all, with City Brew Tours, you get to sample great beers at each brewery you tour. And you get some great local munchies to go along with all that great beer. City Brew Tours takes care of the transportation to the breweries, too. You drink, they drive. Need a great gift idea this year? Get your loved ones an experience they will never forget. A local craft beer tour with City Brew Tours Memphis. Go to citybrewtours.com/Memphis and brew up a craft beer adventure. City Brew Tours Memphis. You drink, they guide.
Hi, this is Lauren Choate with Choate's Air Conditioning, Heating, and Plumbing. Fall is in the air, and so are Choate's Early Bird Specials. Right now, receive $1,000 off the purchase of a new Carrier gas furnace. Carrier furnaces come with some of the best warranties in the industry, and Choate's has been professionally installing them for over 60 years. As a Carrier factory authorized dealer, Choate's also offers competitive financing solutions for you and your family. If your heating system is in good shape, make sure you take advantage of Choate's Early Bird Tune-Up Special for $60. This tune-up is an in-depth 20-point inspection to make sure your furnace is ready for the winter season ahead. So call 347-8086 to schedule your early bird special today. And turn to the experts with Choate's and let our family serve your family.
At Jason's Deli, when you're dining in or picking up curbside, you can expect wholesome food and no surprises, just delicious sandwiches, crisp salads, and quick quality meals made with the freshest ingredients and no artificial trans fats, MSG, high fructose corn syrup, or artificial colors and dyes. Around here, a lot of thought goes into what we put into our food and what we take out of it, because you're not just taking a bite, you're getting a taste of who we are. New items are constantly being created to expand our menu for all tastes and special diets with vegan and gluten-free options available. Convenience and on-time delivery you can count on. It's just a click away at jasonsdeli.com, so whether you need to feed 5 people or 5,000, the team at Jason's Deli, they have the credentials and the commitment to keep you satisfied. Freshness is nearby at Jason's Deli with locations at Ridgeway in the Park Place Center, Poplar and Highland, Germantown Road in Cordova, and on Goodman Road in Olive Branch. Jason's Deli. It's wholesome food and no surprises.
It doesn't matter if you're at the lake, if you're hunting, fishing, playing golf, or just playing around, Scooters Plus can hook you up with the mobility that you need. Scooters Plus has the largest vehicle and parts inventory in the Mid-South and the best service department. You can choose from ATVs, UTVs, golf carts, motorcycles, dirt bikes, trikes, scooters, and even electric bikes. Come in today to start or wrap up your holiday shopping with 25% down on Christmas layaways. Scooters Plus, 3425 Summer Avenue. Call Sam at 458-8843 or go online to scootersplus.us.
Now back to Wolo and Friends on Sports 56 and 98.5 FM, presented by Homer Skelton Hyundai. Here once again is the voice of the Tigers, Dave Woloshin.
It finally happened last night. We know the mechanisms work. The streamers came down in FedEx Forum for a Grizzlies home win. Pete Pranica, the TV voice of the Grizzlies, joins us now. Was that more relief or joy? Pete Pranica?
A little bit of both. Just to finally get the monkey off the back, and to lose 8 straight out of the gate at home when you had the league's best record at home last year, it was difficult. And there were some games where the Grizzlies played Denver exceedingly close, Boston exceedingly close, and then there were some games where they didn't play well at all. But I think they played one of their most complete games last night against Utah.
The thing that a couple things impressed me, finally getting 50-50 loose balls, communicating on defense. But it all started, I think, with Derrick Rose in a press conference saying, we're not going to win anything, we don't communicate. And then Marcus Smart with his outburst on the bench during an embarrassing loss. And I think those two players took it upon themselves. I guess they had a players-led practice on Tuesday that was really, really hard. That sort of changed everything, or so that's the perception. What's your take?
Well, I would agree with that, and that's part of the reason why you bring in guys like Marcus Smart and Derrick Rose, because not only can they play, and I felt for years Derrick Rose still had something in the tank and he was just being criminally underused in New York, but these are guys that, Derrick's been an MVP, he's been to that mountaintop, Marcus has been to the NBA Finals, he's been in the playoffs every year of his career, so he's always been around a winning situation in the NBA, and teach young guys, this is what it takes to win. I mean, you're not going to go 35-6 on a home floor every year, and you are going to run into some issues as well. And I think it's going around on social media now, the response that Bismack Biyombo had after that practice about, you're going to go through tough times like this. Nobody goes 82-0. It's a long season. We just got to get ourselves right. And I think the veteran leadership certainly showed itself, but it's one thing. You can have leaders, Wolo, but you got to have followers too. You have to have guys that are going to buy into it, and they certainly did. And I think too, during the home losing streak, guys were maybe hanging their heads a little bit of woe is me, which is certainly understandable. But they got themselves right, and the hustle plays, the 50-50 balls, much better efficiency on the fast break, much better performance in the paint. So it was hearkening to the Grizzlies teams of previous years where they were working inside out and just out hustling the other team. And that's, I think, what made it so gratifying all the way around.
58 points in the paint to be exact, 23 in transition, which was supposed to be a strength of this team. So there were a lot of really good things that you saw last night. So this is a tough question for you. You're a realistic and honest guy. I did the math yesterday. If the Grizzlies win 2 more games without Ja, they would be 13 games under 500. Last season, play-in teams, I think, were right at 500. Let's just say it because it makes the math easier. Can the Grizzlies go 13 games over 500 with Ja? That's 37 wins, I think, 25 losses, something like. No, it's 13 games over 500. I believe it's 37 wins. Can they do that when he comes back?
It's going to be a heavy lift. I'm not gonna lie to you. I mean, it's going to be a heavy lift because there's going to be a process of integration. You're also hoping that there aren't further injuries,
right?
And you hope that that Luke Kennard comes back from the bone bruise and there are no lingering effects. Xavier Tillman's having issues with his knees. You hope there are no lingering effects from that. Can they do it? Sure, it's not unheard of, but it is going to be a heavy lift, and your margin for error is going to be relatively small. So you're going to have to win some games that maybe you didn't think you were going to win. But you look at the Western Conference, well, there isn't a night off.
No.
I mean, maybe Portland, maybe Utah, but Portland's already won one off the Grizzlies, and Utah took two. So it's gonna be one incredible run to get into the play-in tournament. They're not that far back, and I think you're going to have a lot of Western teams just beating up on each other. So I don't know. You may see a sub-500 team make the play-in, and maybe it's the Grizzlies.
I'm into that if that's the case. I mean, who cares as long as you're able to get in, and then maybe you're healthy. I was listening to a radio post-game show on your network, and I guess it was Sunday. We were coming back from the Orpheum, and the comment was made that only 40% of the salary cap of this team was able to play. I mean, think about it. No Ja, no Adams, no Brandon Clark, no Kennard, no Marcus Smart. 40% of your salary cap up against a team that had 100% of their salary cap available. I mean, this makes it more understandable. But I ask you this, a guy who has been with Memphis for so long, was in Portland. I think you had a stint with the Bulls. Have you Detroit. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
No, not with this level. We're basically your top two bigs. We know Steven is gone for the entire season, and Brandon, that remains a question mark. But if he's able to come back, it's going to be late in the year. I did the numbers last night on the pregame show. The Grizzlies from last year, looking at Ja and Steven and Brandon Clark, are missing 30 paint points per game.
Wow.
From last year. So, the impact of Morant not being available is incalculable because he was one of the guys who was a top 10 paint scorer. He was second, I think, only to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in terms of driving the basketball. So the downhill play, the draw, the kick, the spectacular plays at the rim, all that's gone away. And so, there's a lot that's been lost. And Luke Kennard led the league in 3-point shooting last year. So, yeah, I mean, it's crazy. And I know that coaches never want to use injuries as an excuse, but as my old broadcast partner Michael Cage used to say, let's be for real. I mean, you're missing an awful lot of offense and an awful lot of talent, and credit to Taylor Jenkins. He's been trying to push every button he possibly could, and last night he certainly came up with a winner, not only putting D. Rose into the starting lineup, but David Roddy, 3 consecutive double-figure scoring games for the first time this season.
Well, the Rose thing, because I'll be honest with you, the very first game that Rose played, opening night, he looked rusty. He did not look anything like the Derrick Rose that was here in 2008. He didn't look anything like the Rookie of the Year. He didn't look anything like the MVP his second year. Last night was the first time I've seen that kind of play from him. Obviously, it's the best performance in a Memphis uniform since 2008. Yeah,
and part of that may be are his knees in a position where he feels better about them than he has been in some time? Did he feel, look, I've really got to go all out to be a leader, not only with my words, but with my actions? And, I noticed I was watching the highlights from last night, and that tremendous play where he bats the ball, I think, away from Colin Sexton.
Yeah, right.
And then goes in. The next shot, he's at the bench and he's bent over holding his shorts.
He sure was.
Here's like a 16-year veteran but he's playing his butt off, and I think that was leadership by example. And I think the Grizzlies understand that, he's probably good for maybe 25 minutes a night. Let's keep those knees healthy so he's available for the long term. Because I said as soon as the Grizzlies signed him, I said, he's got something left in the tank because for whatever reason, he was not used very much, if at all, in New York. Some of that was injury related. Some of it was Tom Thibodeau wanted to go in a different direction. And I'm thrilled to see Derek back in Memphis being productive on the floor and in the locker room.
Well, along the minutes, your current partner, Brevin Knight, made the comment when he was coming back in late to protect that lead that he gave him a look like, I'm not supposed to be coming back in, but I'm coming back in. That's how important he was last night. And I think going forward for the Grizzlies, if he can play at that level. Last thing, you got about 45 seconds. Tell me about what you know about these practices with Ja. You talked about the period of time to ingratiate him back into the system, which he's going to be critical of. But is he in shape? Is he really ready to go?
Are you thinking of Moran?
Yeah, Ja. Did I not say that?
I would. I mean, from what I'm understanding, I've not been at the practices, but I understand that he's been working some with first team, second team, and they're getting him more reps with the rotations that more than likely that he will be playing with when he comes back. Is he in shape? If you know Ja, you know how hard he works. That being said, the only way to get in shape to play NBA basketball is to play real games. So there'll probably be a ramp-up period, and they'll probably be monitoring his minutes when he comes back.
Yeah. Thank you, my friend. Appreciate it. Hope you get a few more W's. And like you say, hey, the play-in guys, the team in that league, there you could get an under 500 in that division, the Western Division. So let's hope for that. That's still there.
All right. Sounds good, Wolo. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. That is Pete Pranica, TV voice of the Grizzlies, brought to you by Southern Security. That is your home team credit union. I know by now you know about Southern Security because they've been around for 70 years, and they keep getting bigger. They just broke ground in Collierville for a brand new building. What you get is the latest and the greatest. You will get unbeatable rates. You're going to get low fees. You're going to get the best of service, and look at that new building in Collierville when it comes up. You always get the newest and the best in technology. They are the answer to all your banking needs. If you're a business owner, they're there with you. If you need better benefits with your credit card at Southern Security, they can handle every one of your business banking needs. And if you would like to join the Southern Security family, you can go to their website. It's simple. It's southernsecurity.org. But they urge you to call. Talk to a team member. The number is 901-452-7900. Southern Security. They'll take care of you, I promise. Big Tiger fans, they're your home team credit union. That'll do it for us today. Tomorrow, we're back to making our picks for college games. There'll be the championship games, 2 pros. We got 2 gaps. I tell you, the games already are going to be great games. That's for sure. So we look forward to that. Johnny Radio comes your way in just a minute. Have a great day, everybody.